This is the story of our haphazard adventures bikepacking across the South Downs Way in England. We left behind our comfortable homes in the Midlands and headed to Winchester, which would be the start of our journey. And after a few minor mechanicals, like me destroying the only shock pump we had between us, we set off. The plan was to cycle the South Downs Way from west to east, see how far we got. We had about 3 days and it turned out to be quite an adventure. Our plan for the first day was to reach the Five Bells pub, which is just the other side of Queen Elizabeth Country Park. We had planned to stay in their garden as an easy first night, and it meant we could have some food and some drinks in the pub too. One of the really cool things about the South Downs Way is there are lots of taps along the way if you want to fill up with water, which is really convenient. I think there's more towards the Winchester end. We decided to stop at one of these watering holes as it was nearly lunchtime.
Just for drinks, probably, yeah. Yeah.
Looking at the map, we realised we only had about 8 miles to go to our destination at the Five Bells, so we decided to just stop for a beer for lunch and then carry on. We set off from the pub and after about 5 minutes realised that having beer for lunch is not suitable for bikepacking, so we stopped at the top of the nearest hill and had some actual lunch. After lunch the terrain changed quite significantly and our easy 8 miles to the pub turned into a bit of a challenge. The paths were way more muddier, a lot steeper, and the fatigue of having all the extra equipment started to set in. Eventually we made it to the Queen Elizabeth Country Park, which has fantastic views over the South Downs, and we enjoyed racing down the hill and then headed underneath the A3. After passing under the motorway, it was one final climb up through the forest before we could descend down to the Five Bells pub, which is where we would be staying for the night.
Oh, is that it? Oh, thanks, there. Five Bells. Oh my god, I'm gonna... Oh, I can smell it! I can smell the food!
The Five Bells Inn was a fantastic place to stay. They were really kind, they let us stay in the garden, had some food on, and also let us use one of the showers in the spare units there. We set up the tarp in the garden in a kind of tent formation around the bike. That's a great setup. We watched the final of the Euros in the pub and then settled down for the night. It rained really heavily overnight. Luckily it rained itself out for the next day. So we packed up the wet stuff and got on our way to enjoy the day. Day 2, the hills were still a challenge, but we got into the rhythm of it and enjoyed travelling over the rolling hills. The views are fantastic, and we got several miles under our belt, found a fantastic little cafe to stop for lunch. It's quite muddy. Immediately after lunch, we realised we had an issue. One of Tom's bags had rubbed completely through one of his gear cables, meaning he couldn't change gear at all and was stuck in the hardest gear. Luckily, we had a spare gear cable and had stopped right near some industrial units, and thanks to some kind people lending us some tools, some gaffer tape and the spare internal gear cable, we were managed to get back on the road. With the lunch stop and fixing the bike, we'd been stationary for nearly 2-3 hours, and this meant an enormous thunderstorm had caught us up, so we were now in a race to find somewhere to camp.
Oh my God, don't stop!
We spent the next hour or so racing over the South Downs Way to one of our intended stopping points before the thunderstorm arrived.
What's wrong, Mark?
Nothing. I just think we've got a decision to make, I think.
Ah.
Can you see what the decision is?
Do we try and get to the woods over there, or do we go all the way down there?
Yeah, do we go there to the carrot to there? Or do we go along there what looks like a farm?
Having decided to step into one of the nearby woods to look for a place to stop, we just about managed to get the tarp up before the heavens opened, and it rained really heavily all night long. The night turned out to be a bit of a wild one, with the storm and some wild boar waking us up on several occasions, but we woke up in the morning alive and well. As is really important if you're wild camping, we made sure we packed everything up and left no trace, and headed off to complete our final day. The plan for the final day was to continue along the way for a little bit and then cut south all the way down to the coast. Luckily the storm had rained itself out overnight, so we had some great weather to ride in again.
They are full of disappointment.
After not far at all, we found a sign we were looking for which indicated a route down to the south coast, which we took.
They don't hesitate to lie.
The nice thing about riding towards the coast was it was mostly downhill, and whilst we rode in the sun we reflected on our adventure. We hadn't got quite as far as we'd planned, but it didn't matter how far we got or how fast we'd travelled. We'd achieved what we'd set out to do, which was go on an adventure and have some fun on our bikes. It wasn't long before we left the rolling hills and the adventure of the South Downs Way behind us, and we were back in familiar suburbia. We rode down to the beach and, as is tradition, dipped our front wheel in the water, thus ending our adventure. All that was left was to jump on a train back to the van and head home.
Oh man, I didn't see that. Oh. Only like 9 miles in the pub. It's a bit too close.
It's Wednesday, and when you try to
with his cock out, just flopping around while he's having a kind of
the only time they keep to an appointment is when in desperate need. They would tell you all sorts of lies just to get what they need, and the man, being so stupid, would give them all they need.